Carly, there was a lot of crazy food that these kids were eating. Were you a picky eater as a kid?
I was so picky, like wouldn't eat pizza, took the cheese off,
No
took the
pizza.
sauce off, wouldn't drink pop. I wouldn't eat potato chips. I was so picky. What about you?
Wow. Wow. No, not that picky. I was going to say I was pretty picky, but I wouldn't eat things like, and I still don't, but olives, peppers, the more weird stuff. But no, pizza was like a staple. So you take the cake for a picky eater here.
I will always eat cake. Welcome, everyone, to Track Your Knives, Episode 5, where we break down the power rankings and the fantasy leagues and are just here for the community.
Yeah, exciting. Before we jump into the power rankings, a few reactions we had from this week's episode, and then we do have a couple follow-ups that we wanted to address. But first, man, that bottom three was such a shocker.
Brutal.
And I'm like so sad that we lost Rhoda this early, but I'm hoping she can make a good run in Last Chance Kitchen. But yeah, that was extra brutal this week.
I thought so too. I mean, I saw that bottom three. I mean, at this point, there's not that many people who I don't know. I'm rooting for a lot of them. And like you, I think Rhoda can do really well in Last Chance Kitchen. This most recent Quickfire aside, where they were just not into the egg souffle. Oh, it was sad.
Yeah. And you hope she came in hot and then just sort of was kind of coasting in the middle and then had this bad week. But maybe that's kind of what she needed to respark some inspiration, getting into Last Chance Kitchen and taking it in. So we'll see. But yeah, that bottom three was just, I was like, oh no, not those three. It's like, oh, you don't want anyone to, you don't want anyone to go home. But of those three, that was really brutal.
Yeah, it makes me think, and I was talking to someone a little bit on Instagram too about for folks who like we're doing really well and we're sort of ahead of things and then we're eliminated, looking into how frequently that happens. So I've got some thoughts about sort of following up on that.
Yeah, would love to see that, because I think I was seeing online that there's like a lot of heavy hitters that have gone out in episode 5. I think like Katiana last year, Rasika went out. So that might be interesting to look at that like episode 5, because there were some like, I think folks that people thought were going to go really far in there. So that might be fun to look at. I was also like curious your perspective on, and I know Tom and Sarah talked about this a little bit, but that Jennifer decided to stay. Do you think had she bowed out that they would have kept the other chefs?
I am of two minds. It messes with like there are certain challenges that they do, like Restaurant Wars, where it requires a certain number of chefs if they're planning on having teams of 3, if they're planning on teams of 4, or even teams of 5, right? So it messes with the season that way. So they would need to sort of change Last Chance Kitchen a different way. So I'm not sure. I think that I think that the show should have asked Jennifer to leave.
Yeah.
And I loved Tom's analogy of the injury list. Like if you're on the injured list, you are not playing.
Yeah.
Right. And she's doing this sort of both and in a way that's sort of a little unfair to the other chefs.
I agree. Yeah.
And also, if I'm Justin and Jennifer, if I'm guaranteed to be in another season, then Justin has this chance to win $250,000, and then Jennifer has a second chance in a different season. So in some ways, they would be increasing their odds of getting the money, as opposed to like sort of fighting against each other for it. I don't know whether they would have saved Rhoda maybe, because I think generally they seem to like her.
I think so too.
I don't know. There's got to be some rule book and legal something that was happening behind the scenes too.
Yeah. So I think going forward, I mean, she really looked like she was struggling in the Quickfire, and to see if she'll be able to handle the next one. And then it looks like that the barbecue looks sort of pretty intense. And so, I hope she can pull it out, especially like deciding not to go home this week. And then if she can't participate next week and has to go home anyway, like that's just going to feel like we lost someone really critical to the competition that, when she ends up going home in a different week potentially. So we'll see. A lot of speculation, but also we'll be interested to see how that like continues to impact the where people rank her, and we'll get into that in a little bit here. Before we talk about our power rankings, we did have 2 follow-up things we wanted to discuss. So the first is a confession on a scoring issue with the bonus question that I have to apologize about, that I didn't catch it earlier, but we had someone who confessed, which is like so sweet that they did that, and called out an error and noticed that their points were a little overinflated. And so what happened is in episode 3 and episode 4, the bonus question, if you got it right, was double counting. So instead of 3 points, some users were getting 6 points. And so that only impacted 16 people in episode 3 and 24 in episode 4. Luckily didn't impact any of the leaders. But yes, thank you to Serafina for reaching out to Carly and letting us know. We've fixed that. And really appreciate you pointing that out. But yeah, it didn't impact the leaderboard or anything, but we always want to be accurate in all of our scoring. So if you see anything, please feel free to point those out and let us know.
Yeah, and Serafina also is the first player to get 3 bonus, the first and only player to get 3 of the 4 technically bonus questions right, because we had the one where there was no right answer. So yay, Serafina.
Yeah, Serafina. Multiple kudos to you. And then what about the bonus question? So our question was, how many chefs will have either videos or pictures of their children shown on the episode? And so there was a lot of children on the episode, but most of it was actually the chefs in their childhood. So what ended up being the final count that we had?
It was just one, just Brandon's kids. And most people, like a plurality, put 2 or 3, which is what I put. Actually, I can't remember, 2 or 3. The range was from 0 to 7. No idea why 2 people, like someone put -2 and another put -23.
Wow.
Sorry, but you're definitely, you can't have negatives. But yeah, so 20 people got this week's bonus question correct.
Nice. That's awesome. So probably about 15-ish% of the audience.
Something.
It doesn't 20, matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. So yeah, you're about right. Correct.
That's math. All right. Let's get into power rankings. I can finally celebrate Anthony. Finally won. I have kept him in number 1 because he was my number 1 draft pick. And I was like, I'm going to manifest this win, even though this happened months and months ago. And whatever I think about what's going to happen has no actual impact on the results. But he finally won. So I got my 11 points this week. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I think overall we both did okay.
Yeah, you're going up in the rankings. You're at 13th when we look at ties, and then I'm at 38th. I think last week I was either 38th, 39th, or 40th when looking at ties. So somewhere I'm staying around there.
There we go.
This week I decided to look at for an individual episode, like what is the distribution of scores that people are getting, and yeah, and so on average, people this episode got 8.8 points. The median was a little bit lower at 7. So what that means is that there are some people like you, Kendra, and people who did better than you that are sort of pulling the average to be higher. And so the median sort of doesn't take into account those things on the edges. I'm proud of myself. I did better than average. In this episode, I got 14 points.
Very good.
And there are 20 of us who did that. And yeah, so I mean, I'm feeling good, but at the same time, I'm starting to get really nervous, Kendra, because I feel like I'm going to have to start naming favorites and really rooting for them. And I feel uncomfortable being like, that kind of means I'm rooting against other people.
Right. Yeah, I know. That's what makes this so hard. But yeah, I mean, this was a tough week with Rhoda being a surprise. And then I think, and we'll get into it, but we hypothesized last week that Anthony having a down week, like he was ranking at the top a lot and he had a down week. And so it'll be interesting looking at the numbers if that's why people sort of leaned towards lower numbers, is because they started to drop him a little bit after last week. But then having Rhoda go home, I think very few people probably were expecting that. But I know I had moved her down to 5. And you had her 1 point lower than me. But I think it was just from my perspective, I was like, there's some chefs that are gaining some momentum. It's hard to keep winning. And so who are some of those chefs with momentum that I should bump up and put them a little bit higher? But yeah, let's get into that then. So for predictions, how did everyone do predicting the winner and the eliminated chef?
Yeah, so the winner, more than 50% of folks had Anthony in their top 3, and 20 players had Anthony as most likely to win the elimination. And there were still more than double the number of people who chose Lawrence as most likely to win. But Anthony came in second in the power rankings. So a lot of people were right in choosing him as the winner.
Yeah. And was this the first week that he wasn't? I was just looking back. No, before. But he's typically been around 1. But I think he had a couple down weeks. But yeah.
Yeah, he's never been in episode 3. He was 3rd. His rank of the average rank was 3rd. But he's been 1st in 3 of the episodes, and episode 5 he was 2nd. So yeah. I mean, he's still clearly a front runner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agree. And then what about Rhoda? Where did this is probably where it gets pretty interesting.
Yes, only 3 players put Rhoda as most likely to be eliminated. Zach E16. You had your last name in there, so I'm not going to say it. Shara Thune and A. Tilly. So those 3 are the only ones. And then only an additional 5 more players. So just over 5% of the 140 people had Rhoda in their bottom 3. This is the lowest we have seen all season. Yeah. For reference, the past 2 weeks, it was 72%, 73%, something like that, had the eliminated chef in the bottom 3. This is only wild. 5. Like, this was a big surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would love to be in the brain of these 3 players to understand what they were thinking last week when they put Rhoda in the bottom, and like what they were seeing that made them decide to do that. So kudos to the 3 of you for nailing that one.
Interesting. One of them, Zach, has had Rhoda in the bottom 2 every single episode.
Oh. Why are you hating on Rhoda?
Shara Thun has had Rhoda just throughout the gamut. And then A. Tilly, about the gamut, but starting in episode 4 put her lower.
So interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Good job, I guess, Zach. Except, in those early episodes, then having her at 13th didn't do you
hurt
real
you
well.
A little bit. Yeah. That's so fun. Well, we also want to congratulate our new leader. So DGSF is our new leader. So congratulations, had a killer week, got the bonus question right. And then we have 2 players that are new to the top 10 this week. So Boudeleau, which Carly and I learned is not the real Boudeleau, and then Kendall Hayes as well. And then we had a few huge jumps this week. So Top Scallop jumped 13 spots to number 12. And I realized missed week 1. So being in 12th and didn't score week 1 means you have been killing all of the other weeks. DAP 18 jumped 24 spots to 24. And then Bobby had a 42 spot jump and is now at 41. So doubled, basically cut their position in half. So that was
nice.
A very impressive jump. So congrats to all of you. Oh. And then looking at which chef did users most expect to win this challenge? So I know we mentioned already that Lawrence was at the top, but kind of where did others land from the top perspective? And then I'm curious, I can maybe make some guesses, but where did people have for the eliminated chefs as well?
Yeah, so by far and away, Lawrence again was chosen as most likely to win. With, as I said, 52 folks putting him there. His average rank, so, a rank can be from 1 to however many chefs there are, in this case, 11. And his rank was 2.9. And then Anthony, who had the second best rank, his was 3.9, right? So that's a 1 point spread. Yeah. And then when we go to the bottom, though, the bottom 2, Jennifer and Justin, it was only a 1/10 of a point difference, with Justin at an average of 9.3 and Jennifer 9.4. And so, I found that to be,
yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Yeah. So Jennifer and Justin had a lot of people choosing them as most likely to be eliminated. More people chose Jennifer as most likely to be eliminated than chose Lawrence as most likely to win. And then 37 people chose Justin as most likely to be eliminated.
Interesting. Yeah. I feel like that early season teaser of seeing them asking Jennifer if she'd like to go home, and then Kristen talking to Justin and sort of crying. They also, Jennifer's kind of been up and down. Justin's kind of been in the middle to bottom. But I feel like that has biased where people are ranking them too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I'm curious now that Jennifer decided not to go home, if we'll see any changes in where people are ranking them now that we're kind of past that conversation, though we haven't seen Justin crying. Does that mean she does end up going home, or Kristen crying with Justin? Or
yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious if that biased it at all, or if people really do think that the 2 of them might be the most likely to go home. So
yeah,
we'll never know. Yes. I mean, it definitely my rankings.
Oh, same. Absolutely. Absolutely. Another thing I wanted to say was that in the first 2 episodes and then this episode, it was really us as a community, we were pretty clear, had a really good guess as to who was going home. Early on, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. You're who is strong, who's not. And so I was starting to think the last 2 episodes, 3 and 4, with 72% of people having the winner in their top 3, okay, maybe we've got the knack of this. Yeah. And this is just not the case with episode 5. And so I think that there's just something different that's going to be needed to get points in this sort of middle part of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Because I think we're going to continue to have some surprise eliminations, surprise winners. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, looking at next week, any reads from the previews for you?
No, not really. I think all-nighters. I mean, I don't know. I really, really, really like sleep. I think
same.
this really gets to how stressful this competition is, right? When they add in a challenge like this, like not only are you doing, a quickfire and then elimination challenge shopping one day and then elimination cooking the next day, like it seems like they went from this elimination challenge pretty quickly to this whole hog situation. So, yeah. You want to talk about what we decided for the bonus question?
Oh, yeah. Just because the previews already look like it's going to be chaotic. So our bonus question is going to be, how many chefs will panic about the barbecue next week? So, we'll figure out what we define as panic.
Definitely tears.
Yes.
Definitely like needing to like take a break or have someone like calm them down.
Yes.
But because it's a sort of subjective, it is subjective. Like we will be clear in what we counted as a panic moment.
Yeah. So that will be fun to watch. All right. And then looking at fantasy leagues here at the end, just a few things we wanted to call out. So Anthony has officially surpassed Lawrence on the leaderboard. And then you have Brandon behind them, who has had no bottom finishes. So he is the only chef that is like green across the board. He hasn't lost any points from being in the bottom. So he is now the only one. It was him and Lawrence, but now he's the only one that hasn't been in the bottom on the eliminations yet. And then Seeger is a close second behind him. Justin and Oscar have been the only ones that haven't been on top of an elimination challenge. So I think will be interesting to see where they can land, but they're the only two that haven't reached the top. Anything else interesting from the fantasy leagues that you pulled out?
I mean, Dwen's been great, like being really consistently at the top of quickfire and elimination. So, I think she's on the watch list for me, for sure.
Yeah, same. And I would add Sherry too. I think her plates look chaotic. Like she adds a lot of elements to them and like you can't quite tell what's going on, but I feel like she's gotten a lot of momentum these last few episodes, being in the top of both eliminations. And so I'm like, she's on my watch list too, her and Dwyn, but I feel like Dwyn's like so quietly consistent and I'm like, she needs to pull out a win. So I'm hoping she can do that in the next few episodes.
I was very surprised when I was listening to Tom and Sarah. I hadn't noticed how many ingredients Sherry was including, but Sarah was laying it out and I was like, oh, that is a lot.
Yeah. Cause I sort of noticed it on the episode where she did the like deconstructed pork and the spetzel. And then I started to notice it, but then last episode when Tom said, oh, I can tell which dishes are Sherry's, I was like, oh, it's because it has a bunch of stuff on it. And I was like, that's it. And then this week it was like the same thing. So yeah, that's her thing, but they noticed that it's hers. And they called out noticing like Seeger's dish. They knew what was his. So it's fun that they're starting to predict those as they're coming out too, even though I guess they're talking.
Yeah, knowing the chef's perspectives and being able to see that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything fun from the fantasy leagues themselves to call out?
Yeah, I thought this week I would just call out because usually I focus on the leagues where the teams have 2 chefs, because that's me in like year's league and my league, and 7 chefs because that's what Tom and Sarah have. But this time I figured I'm going to go through all of the ones just to give more people some shout outs. So This person has 2 chefs on their team, and they are leading all the fantasy league teams when we look at the standardized points. Team Risotto Curse of Pack Your Knives 4. And really proud of them because that's one of our leagues.
Nice.
Team 3 of League Tomfoolery for teams of 3 chefs. For teams of 4 chefs, Top Scallop of League Xenofriends is leading. And then the next 2 are just team 1s. So this is of 5 and 6 chefs respectively within the Top Chef League. Wow. Team 1 of Top Chef League, not a great name, but congrats on leading.
Yes.
And then team 1 of Top Chef Skinny Candle.
Okay.
All right. As we know, Team Sarah's freaking crushing it and crushing Tom.
It's
incredible.
Insane. She's over 100 points.
It's terrifying. And then Team Comfy Chicken Biscuit of League Top Pensacola.
Hey, congrats everybody. That's great. Well, I think that's it. So we're going to wrap up. Just a reminder, make sure to get your rankings in at find-topchef.com. I will watch the timing. So this week it was actually on 30 minutes earlier than normal. So I'll make sure to call that out if they change the air time again, and when you need to get your rankings in. So I think that threw a few people off having it on 30 minutes earlier. And then make sure you check out all the great content on packyourknives.com, including Tom and Sarah's episode recaps. And then Carly's been doing some really great analysis these past few weeks as well that I know Tom and Sarah were chatting about on their podcast. So make sure you go and check those out. And I think that's it. Carly, do you want to sign us off?
Yeah. Thanks for listening. This has been Track Your Knives.